Hi dreamers and make-believers! In today's video I'm doing my reading wrap-up for September, which isn't large, but it's something, and I am telling you my TBR for October, which I'm really hoping to get through. I think I'm getting a little bit faster with reading, woohoo! But we'll see, and at the moment I'm actually reading two books at the same time. I'm doing the Kindle and the paperback kind of separation thing, and it's actually working. I'm actually being able to go from one book in, like, say I do half an hour of one book, and then 5 minutes later I can actually go and do the other book for half an hour and not get, like, you know, confused or put off. Or it's quite exciting. I'm very excited to be reading two books at once because it's the first time I'm actually doing it properly, because as you know I tried it with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child and Ember in the Ashes, and it didn't work because Ember in the Ashes stole all my attention. So I think that might have been it as well, that one book was just so much better than the other book. That's why. But this one, they're both pretty good. So I'm doing two at once. So let's see. And I'm hoping to finish 3 to 4 books this month, which I know to some people is nothing. Some people can finish 3 to 4 books in a week, in a day. But for me, 3 to 4 books in a month is a lot, because one book a week, like my time seems to be 10 days to read a book. So this is looking at like maybe a week to read a book. So this is exciting for me. But first, my reading wrap-up. So, in the month of September, I read Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. The first one and the only one I've ever read. And I was very excited to get it. I got it from my friend, who I believe I've mentioned a couple of times. But I got it from my friend. I got the entire series, like the first the Percy Jackson series, not the new one that's gone loopy and awesome, and I can't wait to get to that. But yes, I got this from that friend, and I finally read The Lightning Thief. And my thoughts. So I really enjoyed The Lightning Thief. It was very different to the movie, which did throw me off, but I guess that's why you shouldn't read the movie first. Read the movie first? That's why you shouldn't watch the movie before reading the book, and they always say that the book is always better. But I did thoroughly, I mean, I like the movies. Apparently the movies aren't very good, and no more are being made, which I just found out recently, which I was a bit disappointed about. But I mean, I like the movie, but I did really enjoy the book as well. And so, in this one, for those of you who don't know, it's the beginning, and it's where Percy finds out that he's a god, and he goes to the school, and goes up to Olympus because he's accused of stealing Zeus's lightning, and, you know, just literally all hell's gonna break loose because they feel that they feel that he did it for his father Poseidon because they don't all get along, and then Hades lost his helmet, and he thinks that, you know, Poseidon and Percy are involved as well. And it's also about Percy, like, selling into his new abilities and, like, discovering that he's actually a god, or demigod, I believe they call him. But it's really interesting. I really enjoyed this book. I would rate Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, I'm gonna say a 4.5. I mean, it loses 0.5 simply because there were some parts where I was like, meh, but that's like 0.5. I mean, really, it's a win. Really, it's a win. But and I also, just because I know that the other books, or I believe that I know that the other books are just get better and better and better, that, you know, I'm leaving some wiggle room, because I'm sure that I'm gonna keep reading, and then I'm gonna be like, why did I give that a 5 when, like, you know, this is like a million out of 5, you know? So I'm holding on to my 0.5 because I did really enjoy it, and maybe because I watched the movie, maybe I wasn't completely mind blown by it. I do think it's completely unique and so interesting, and I'm really looking forward to reading the entire Percy Jackson series and all of Rick Riordan's books. And I hear that he's connected them, and, like, now there's Thor somehow in it, and I just can't wait to get into this guy's imagination. It's brilliant, and yeah, I just really enjoyed Percy Jackson, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I will be reading the second one, which, let me double check, is called The Sea of Monsters, another movie that I saw, which I've heard it's going to be completely different, so I'm going to try and erase the movie from my mind and get into The Sea of Monsters. And I'm probably going to be reading that in my November TBR, because there's no more Percy Jackson on this TBR, because there's just so many books that I want to read, and as I've already explained, I'm not the fastest reader. So hopefully I'll be getting to The Sea of Monsters in November. Woo! So that's my opinion on Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. The other book that I read this month, or September, was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I just love how there's a picture of him in the back. And I actually just bought that book, The Golden Sun. I bought that a couple of weeks ago when I went on my mad shopping spree. So I'm looking forward to getting into that one. And I do need to get Morning Star. But what they did, which annoys me, I'm quite fussy, what they did is that they got, or actually maybe that's how it is, I'm going to have to suck it up, but basically they had Red Rising and they had Golden Sun, and they were two books like relatively the same size with a nice binder that went perfectly together. And then they had Morning Star, which was like the size of like, you know, like the size of a Harry Potter book. Like it was so much bigger, and it was still paperback, which is fine, but yeah, it was so much bigger. So I don't know if that's how it's done or if that's just the version that they had in the shop at the time, but I'm hoping that they have a Morning Star. Yes, a Morning Star. I'm hoping that they have a Morning Star that's the same size as the other books, because I hate it. I hate it when they don't match. I mean, I think I've also mentioned in another video that I have the entire Mortal Instruments series except book 6, which I believe is not Heavenly Fire, or is it Heavenly Fire? Whatever number 6 is, I don't have it because I keep finding it with different covers. It might be the right size, or it might be the right, like, it's paperback and not hardback. I don't know, but it's not the right cover because I want the original cover with the torsos, because that's the first 5 books that I have, and instead it's giving me like drawings and sketches that look nice but are not what I want. So it just annoys me when covers do not line up and then you put them on your bookshelf and it's not right, you know, and like books being slightly bigger than the other one. But like with Morning Star, I didn't get it because it's not slightly bigger, it's much bigger. So I didn't get it because it would just annoy me way too much. So that, anyways, that's my little rant on books and their sizes and their covers and how they should match. And now I'm going actually on to my review of Red Rising. So first of all, if you haven't read Red Rising and you're like me and you think that it's going to be like Red Queen, you are mistaken. I heard, Red Queen, it's silvers and reds. You've got red blood and you've got no powers. And if you've got silver blood, then you've got loads of powers and you're awesome and whatever. And everyone has to like worship you, whatever. Red Rising is, he's a red and he works in the mines and he's got like, he's like the slums. And then there's the golds who he like has to like go and like be a part of and yada, yada, yada. So in my mind, it was the golds have all these awesome powers and the reds have no powers. And it's very much like Red Queen. Wrong. So Red Rising, in my opinion, is more dystopian sci-fi than it is fantasy, which, Red Queen is very much YA fantasy. Red Rising, I would definitely say, is more dystopian sci-fi. Also, I've only read Red Rising, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like there's any magic in this book. There is stuff that doesn't seem possible, but that's because it's dystopian and it's set in Mars and it's futuristic and they have all this technology that does all these awesome things. But like, in Red Queen, they're flying because they've got magical powers to fly. In Red Rising, they fly because they wear grav boots. I mean, if you don't have grav boots that can defy gravity, you ain't flying, So I found that quite cool. So I find, so I really like Red Rising for that sense that it's very different. So I was very happy that it was different to Red Queen. I mean, I was looking forward to reading it because I thought it was like Red Queen and I absolutely love Red Queen. But it was even better to discover, oh, it's not like Red Queen, but still fantastic. And there was, there's reds and golds, but there's also pinks and greens and browns, I believe. There's all different colors, and the colors aren't pertaining to the color of your blood. They're pertaining to just your rank in society on Mars. And so the reds are the ones that work in the mines, and they're like the lowest of the low, and that is what Darrow is. Darrow is the main character in this book. And there's and then the golds are like the upmost best ones that, have all the glory and the big muscles, and they go through this thing now. I'm gonna be so mad at myself because I forgot what it's called. Wait a minute, give me a second. Okay, I can't remember what it's called, but they go through this thing. It's in an academy, and it's like a year of training to like prepare them for the real world where everything doesn't work out their way. But I mean, they're golds and they've been pampered their entire lives, and they have no idea. Okay? Like, they think this is hard. Darrow, who has been working in the mines and has really been suffering all his life and struggling all his life, he knows. He gets it. So Darrow kind of has to become... So I'm going to read you the back, actually, because I don't want to give away spoilers. I'm always afraid of giving away spoilers when I do these. So let me just double check what the back says, and then I will elaborate. So the back says... his wife taken, his people enslaved. Driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Darrow will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if he must become one of them to do so. for the first time, Red will rise. So as I've already explained, Red is like down below. So yes, he's married. I mean, he's 16, but in, you know, in Mars, in this futuristic world, it's not unusual. So he's married to this really great girl, and something heartbreaking happens, and basically she's taken, and he then goes for justice and to, like, you know, seek revenge. Well, not revenge. You know what? You got to read it. But just for justice, as it says, and just to kind of even the playing field. Like, he just kind of gold suck, you know. Basically that's the consensus in the Reds. Gold suck, and they get all the power and they get all the glory, and, you know, and they're always going to keep you in line, and there's a hierarchy, and you don't step out of the rules, you follow the rules, and you don't disobey. And basically his wife disagrees with that, and then all this stuff happens, and Darrow ends up infiltrating the Golds in order to find some justice for the Reds. And it's insane. And I wrote a review on Goodreads recently, and I said it's like Hunger Games in Mars, but different. But yeah, the year in the academy is very much like Hunger Games. Like, it's being watched by, like, the whole of Mars, the whole of the universe. It's been watched by the whole of the universe. It's kids, well, like 16, 17-year-olds, and they're fighting each other. And, or actually, no, he's 19 at one point. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's a long time, and they're fighting, and it's for people's entertainment, but plus to, you know, prove that they deserve to be a Gold. And, you know, if you die, you die. If you don't, you don't. You know, no one cares. You are in there. You're in it to win it, or die. And it's literally like, may the odds be ever in your favor. So I really liked it, but it's very different to Hunger Games, so obviously that was great. And it's very, very different to anything I've ever read before, so I like that as well. I've not read a spacey book before, I don't believe. I could be wrong, but I don't believe I've read a spacey book before. And there are these awesome characters in it, and I love them all. And I especially love the Howlers, literally just howl all the time. They, like, start fighting, and they're just like, oh! And you're just like, yeah! Get in there! And they're just awesome. And Darrow, who's the main character, is pretty awesome. I mean, he's a bit soft at the beginning, and then he just becomes hard and epic, and you just love it, and I just love it. I just love it. So yes, Red Rising, I give a 5. And now on, because I've been babbling for a really long time, and I actually thought this was going to be really short. That's why I was like, oh yeah, Percy Jackson review short. But that actually was longer than I thought. But just now, my TBR for October. So I've already started reading, as I've said. So, give me a second. So I'm now reading Shadow of Tear, which, if you remember, I read The Heart of the Mirage, and I did a review on it maybe a very long time ago. Maybe like a month ago. So this is the second one in that series. So the first one is The Heart of the Mirage, and this is The Shadow of Tear. So obviously I'm not going to read the back of this, because that would completely defeat the purpose of reading the book, like, well, of you reading Heart of the Mirage. But it's pretty good. I've taken out the bookmark because it just kept falling out, but I am, like, not very far into it. I think I'm on, like, chapter 6 or something. Like, yeah, there. I'm on about chapter 6. But it's really good so far, and it's continuing on straight where the first one left off, which I love when books do that. And yes, so I will be letting you know what I think of The Shadow of Tear when I'm finished it. And if you're wondering about this series, then please go back to my videos. I can't remember the date, but I will check the date and put it into the description so you can see what the Heart of the Mirage saga is about if you're looking to, you know, read it. And then the other book that I'm reading, I don't have with me. It's an ebook on my Kindle, but it's called Rise of the Flame by, if I'm not mistaken, K.N. Cooper. I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, it's K.N. Cooper. Anyway, it's a new release-ish. She's a #1, or maybe not #1, but New York Times bestseller. Anyways, it's about this girl. Actually, I think it's about more, but I've just started it, so it's hard to say. But the main character seems to be this girl. She's the flame. She's the Rise of the Flame. So she's got this fiery red hair. And basically, they're in a world, and this world is so magical. It's insane. And in this magical world, a war is coming. Basically, the gods above have bestowed powers on these people, and when they all come of age, so when this girl turns 18, I think another one's 25, another one's 32, I think. I'm still at the beginning, but it seems, and there's all these creatures there, and when they come of age, they have to fight these creatures called the Shadow Elves and the Stalwarts, and there's a lot of creatures there, and there's people that want the, you know, the gods to prevail, but there's also people that want the gods to like fail and want a new era to dawn and want to take over. But Rise of the Flame, she's one that's been given her powers by the gods, and we're rooting for her, or at least I'm rooting for her at this time. But it's also jumped to like other chosen ones, like she's the chosen one basically, but it's also jumped to other chosen ones. So I feel like she's the main one because she's the flame and it's called Rise of the Flame. But the other characters are pretty interesting, and so far it's pretty good. So that's The Rise of the Flame. And then the other book that I'm hoping to read this month, which I'm sure you guys probably know as well, is Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton. And so I'll read you the back of this one. I don't believe I have already, so I'll read you the back of this one. And yeah, so Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton. Tell me how you want your story to go, he says, and we'll write it straight across the sand. First of all, love that. And then it says, Dustwalk is an unforgiving dead-end town. It's not the place to be poor or orphaned or female, and yet Amani al-Hizar must call it home. Amani wants to escape and see the world. Amani wants to escape and see the world she's heard about in campfire stories. Then a foreigner with no name turns up, and with him she has the chance to run. But the desert plains are full of dangerous magic. The Sultan's army is on the rise, and Amani is soon caught at the heart of a fierce rebellion. And then it says, an epic story of swirling desert sands, love, magic, and revolution. So it just sounds pretty cool to me, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And it's got some really, really good reviews. And it says, a new dawn, a new desert, Rebel of the Sands. Like, it just sounds really cool. So if you've read this, please, you know, give me your thoughts. If you've read Rise of the Flame, if you've read Shadow of a Tear, you know, I'm always eager to hear people's opinions on it and to fangirl possibly if, you know, they become fangirl worthy. Woohoo! So I've rambled on for a very long time, and much longer than I intended to today. So that is my reading wrap up for September and my TBR for October, which I'm hoping to stick to, but it might change because, you know, I just get so caught up in books. Anyways, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you again soon.